Welcome to Watercolor Lessons with Kathy. I'm Kathy Nichols, and I'm a lifelong artist, painter, and teacher. I help students of all ages tap into their creativity with watercolor. Watercolor is a great way to express yourself, and it's easy to get started and fun to do. I hope you join me to learn how to paint with watercolor. I can't wait to see your paintings. To send me photos of your creations, email them to the address in the description. Welcome to the next lesson in our Wood Duck series. One of our very popular videos was the Wondrous Wood Duck lesson. Today, we'll paint a portrait profile of a beautiful wood duck. Wood ducks have fantastic colors and markings, and I love seeing and painting them. We'll use 3 brushes, 9 paints, and 8 techniques. To better enjoy the lesson, you may wish to use the same paints and materials as I do. Watch my video, Best Materials for Beginning Watercolor Artists, to see where to get them. The link to the video is in the description and in the corner. Be sure to check below for more useful information and links. Let's get started and paint some watercolor. Hello, let's get started. Take your spray bottle, wet your pans of paint here, put some water on your palette. Now with this lesson, again we'll use a template. So here is my template, placing it on the paper. Let's start with using our liner brush and trace it with the outline of using ochre. So load your brush with ochre and trace your template that you made. Then lift your template up. Okay, so let's start with the beak. We'll start with the beak, and then, so first with that, let's use some water on your liner brush and phase that line out there. Now on the beak, there's a white spot in the middle around here. And then at the tip of the beak, which is about right here, there's bright yellow. This is a very colorful bird. So take your liner and load your brush with cadmium yellow. And there's some on the side, and then it comes up. And a little bit down. like so. Okay, I'm going to let that kind of dry and go on to orienting the eye. And there's a white streak that shoots out this way, and then the eye is about right here. And it's a really bright orange. So we're going to start with a layer of yellow and make a circle there. Okay. Now let's turn our attention to the neck. Now on the neck in this bird, there's white. And I see where my line is. And so the neck is white and then it's carried up. So I'm going to start with doing a little sketching by using a light shade of the ochre. Orient the white space where the neck is. So the neck is here, and then it goes up, and then there's a line that comes around like this, and then goes a little further on the back of the neck, and then comes around here. Now, the part below that white is a brown, and we will start by loading our liner with burnt sienna. There's a little kind of rust color to it. And then as it comes further on the back, the neck, it gets a little darker. So take your liner and add some burnt sienna with some burnt umber. Get it a little darker. And carry it up. Now this whole area here is going to be dark. And so I'm going to give it just a light coat of that burnt umber and burnt sienna and come back and darken it. Now, about right here, there's some white lines in the head. It has a very kind of lots of colors on the head here. And there's going to be a white line there. Then come down. And fill this spot. And that's going to be the first coat of that color. And we're going to slowly darken it. Okay. So in this bird, there's some more white feathers in the head. And one comes off where the yellow beak is here. And when I look at the head in this bird, there's a lot of green. So clean your brush. And load your brush with sap green. So the white shoots off this yellow on the beak. And I'm using the sap to kind of sketch below that white line is a green color. And it comes around this way, like so. And then on the other side of that white line above the head is more of that green color. And then the white line goes further in the back here. I want to move that line a little bit more, because then the white line comes to there. So I'm going to dab a little here to not have the green there. Carry that line more out like that. Okay. Okay. Now let's go back to working on the beak. Now the beak on this bird is very colorful. So below the yellow is a bright orange, almost red. So let's start by using some cadmium red and put a layer. And that layer goes right below the yellow. Like so. And then a little further down on the beak here. Like that. Okay. Now this orange kind of comes around like that. So I'm going to put a little bit there. Like that. Okay, let's continue on another part of the painting. And one thing that is helpful, I find, when I'm doing my watercolor is to go to a different area for maybe even 3 minutes, 1 minute, and that will give enough time for that part of that painting to dry, and then you can go back to it without getting those muddy colors. So on the head, there's that bright green, blue, yellowish color. And there's a little yellow to it. So let's take our liner brush, load it with cadmium yellow, and put some above that green line we created. And spread it like that. Now there's some of that yellow below the eye, just a little bit here. And there's some that are right below the screen here. Like that. Okay. Let's give it a good dry, because we want to go back and work on the beak And I want to make sure that watercolor is dry. Okay, let's take your liner brush and we're going to make some of that dark color. So take your brush and mix burnt umber with some of the ultramarine blue. And again, you can test it on your little paper towel that you have. Okay, so on the beak, on the very tip, it's a black. And it has a little curve down. And then the black is continue on the upper part of the beak and then a little further up on the beak. And then it has a little separation and then some more of that dark color here. Like that. And there's just a little below, almost like a line below the orange color there. And then kind of carries down there like that. Okay. So let's clean your brush. Still staying with the liner brush. And the eye, work on the eye. And that is a very interesting part of the bird. It's a very bright orange color. Now, and there's a little yellow around it. So let's load our brush with cadmium yellow and a bit of cadmium red. I have some on my palette. I'm just going to mix a little so it's more of an orangey color. And there's a circle around it. Like so. Okay, now the center part around that is a brighter orange red color. So take your liner brush and load with cadmium red and paint that whole space. Now stop and give it a dry. Okay, pick up your liner brush. Now I noticed in this painting the color kind of ran a little bit, and that's okay because you want some of the orange to go on the outer. Now load your liner brush with the cadmium red and just add a touch of crimson, just a little bit to intensify that color. And paint over, so we want to darken that color there. Like so. Okay, now let's go to another part of the painting. Now on the cheek here, there's multi-colors on the bird. When it hits it, there's a touch of blue there. So load your liner with intense blue and put a spot below the yellow. And then below that yellow is a touch of kind of a purplish crimson color. So go ahead and rinse your liner brush out and load it with crimson. Now this paint is a little wet, and that's okay. I want it to kind of run into it a little bit. Okay. Now, the area around is the eye. Mix this a little more. There's some of the dark green. So load your liner with sap. And a touch of burnt sienna. And that will make it a darker green. And go around the beak up to that line there and connect. Now, go a little further down this way, the back. The red here carries on a little bit more. Go ahead and rinse your liner brush and load it with crimson, and we're going to put a spot of crimson right there. I'm going to carry this out a little more, like so. Rinse your brush, and we're going to reload our liner brush with some of that dark green, which is the sap and a touch of burnt umber. And come back around the beak here. go around the eye. Come back around this area. Go ahead and let this area here kind of smear together. That's okay. So, but you don't want to fill that completely. There's a white line kind of coming down from there. So I'm going to leave a little bit of white space like that. Okay. Now let's work on the top of the head here. So load your liner brush with sap and some burnt umber. And we're going to put some of that dark color on the yellow by the beak here. Carry it up there. Bring it up to the yellow. And we're not going to cover that yellow. And load your brush as needed. I'm a little short of paint here, so I'm mixing some. Bring it around the back of the head, all the way down. And fill in some of the spaces here. Now, the white line, there's another white line that kind of comes down the head. So when you're down in this area, you want to leave a white streak. Now, on the top of the head, there's just a little hint of blue. So we're going to add some sap green with intense blue and make it more of a bluish green, and put a little bit on the top of the head there by the yellow. And then bring it down. Bring the blue a little bit towards the front there like that. Now this white spot here, I don't like that. I want to go ahead and add some yellow, cadmium yellow, right there. I'll let it mix in with the blue. That's okay. So there's a white streak there, and there's one coming off his head there. Okay. Now let's work on this spot right here. So the neck is white, and we'll work on casting a little bit of a shadow. His beak casts a little bit of shadow on the neck. But let's work on this area right here. So load your brush, still sticking with the liner brush, with burnt umber and some ultramarine blue. I want to get that dark, kind of rich brownish color, almost black. And I notice there's kind of a straight line. I'm going to make kind of it more scraggly so that it looks more like feathers. And then this color is carried back in here a little bit, in the back of the feather. They're very beautiful birds. I'm going to keep filling in that spot. And bring it down this way in the back of the neck there. Okay. Now, the eye, there's a dark area, and we will use our liner brush and mix with the burnt umber and the ultramarine blue, get that dark, rich, almost black color. Now, we're having a little bit of a light reflect, so I'm not going to make it completely black. And then right in the corner of his eyes, a little dark spot. And a few around like that. Not making a complete circle. Okay. So now I'm taking some of that dark color and putting it a little below here in the green area. Just a touch. Okay. Now I'm going to go back with that color and make the beak more black. And with watercolor, you build the layers, and sometimes that's where people get frustrated with watercolor. But sometimes you have to kind of sit and wait, use your hair dryer, let it dry, and wait until it's just right. So a little bit blue. I'm going to add some more burnt umber. Yeah. Now that this part has dried a little bit, add another layer of that color. And with watercolor, sometimes it doesn't take much, just a light layer. So we're working on this spot and adding another layer to make it darker. And bring it down here and into the back feathers. And down below a little bit. Okay. Now, on the neck, it is white, but there's little shadows casting. So we want to use our mixture here of burnt umber and ultramarine blue and make it kind of that black grayish color. Testing a little bit on my paper towel. Yep. Okay. So right below is just a little bit of a cast from the beak, because he has that nice big beak. It kind of gives definition of some feathers there, that you know that it's feather there, like that. Okay. Let's give it a good dry. Look at it and then consider if we're done. Okay. So there's the head, and I think I could add a little more darkness right here. Now, you might see in the painting, it's not quite dry right there, and that's okay. I'm not going to touch that area. So I would like to make this area a little darker for some more contrast. So take your roundwood pointed tip brush. This is a pretty big area. And mix your burnt umber with some of that ultramarine blue. Okay, that makes it a little darker there. I like my quacking duck. Now, you know, you can leave it white if you like that, or you can create a background by using the wash technique. So if you feel like you are ready to stop, then stop. If not, we'll go on and I'll show you how we can create a background, and we'll be using the wash technique. So let's take our mop brush. Now I'm going to clean this area here because I want it more just of a blue, and there's a little brown in there. I want that to get mixed in for the background. Okay, so for the background, we're going to use some of the intense blue. Now the paper is dry, so I think we're not ready to load our brush. We just want to wet our brush with water and wet the area around the duck. Okay, now go ahead and take your mop brush and load with intense blue. And if you see that it pools and you don't like it, you have a couple choices. You can dab it and leave what you dab and come back and put color back into it. I kind of like the dabbing, like there's light is hitting that spot in the water. Now I'm coming to the other side of the duck. Being careful with the contact. The duck is dry and it should not run the other watercolor if it's dry. So if you want, so this could be sky or water background. Now I think if you want it to be more like water, you can add a touch of sap green to the color. Sometimes when you look at water, there's just a touch of green to it. So I'm just going to add some of that in spaces. Not very much, just kind of giving it a little more depth, so maybe it won't look so flat. Touch of the sap green and a touch of the intense blue. Put a little bit down here. Again, if it's strong, you can water it down and dab it a little. Okay, and then when you need to, you give it a good dry and then look at it again, because sometimes you don't know the true color until it's dry. It will always dry lighter. Okay. I like my duck. He's happy, having a good day. And I hope you have a good day. Thanks for joining me in this lesson, and please continue to subscribe. I enjoyed painting with you today, and I hope you enjoyed it too. I'd love to see photos of your creations. You can email them to me at the address in the description. To suggest something you'd like to paint, please let me know in the comments. If you'd like to give watercolor a try, please subscribe to my channel and take a lesson or two. Please join me next time when we'll paint another beautiful wood duck. Take care, be safe, and see you soon.